Hello everyone. Welcome to our Fisheries Board Exam Review. This video aims to help fisheries graduates increase their chances of passing the licensure examination for fisheries professionals. In every episode, we answer and explain 20 questions from the major fields of fisheries. In this episode, we prepared review questions for you related to post-harvest fisheries. But before we continue, if you are new to this channel, we make videos related to fishery matters, including review questions, lectures, trivias, and some basic fishery skills. So, if you like these kinds of contents, please subscribe in our YouTube channel, and hit the notification bell so that you will be updated of our new contents. So, let's start. What do you call a type of microorganisms that can withstand high concentration of salt? The options are A. Thermophiles, B. Psychrophiles, C. Halophiles, and D. Mesophiles. Do you know what is the correct answer? Yes, you are correct. The correct answer is letter C. Halophiles. Thermophiles are organisms with optimal growth temperatures in 60 to 108 degrees Celsius, isolated from a number of marine and terrestrial geothermally heated habitats including shallow terrestrial hot springs, hydrothermal vent systems, sediment from volcanic islands, and deep-sea hydrothermal vents. Meanwhile, psychrophiles are organisms capable of growth and reproduction in cold temperatures, and are often xerophilic and halophilic. On the other hand, mesophiles are organisms which can grow at moderate temperatures, with an optimum growth temperature in the range of 30 to 39 degrees Celsius. The process of removing water by evaporation as a result of pressure difference is known as blank. A. Drying, B. Salting, C. Dehydration, and D. Osmosis. Do you know the answer? If you answer C. Dehydration, you are correct. Drying or sun-drying is a traditional drying method for reducing or removing the moisture content of the product by exposing it under the heat of the sun. Salting is the application of dry edible salt in food that acts as preservatives. Osmosis is the movement of a solvent such as water through a semi-permeable membrane into a solution of higher solute concentration that tends to equalize the concentrations of solute on the two sides of the membrane. This is a method of evaluating fishery products using human senses. What is this? The options are A. Sensory evaluation, B. Sensual evaluation, C. Manual evaluation, and D. Sensus evaluation. Do you know the answer? If you answer A. Sensory evaluation, you are correct. Sensory evaluation is the scientific discipline which encompasses all methods to evoke, measure, analyze and interpret human responses to the properties of foods, as perceived by the five senses, such as taste, smell, touch, sight and hearing. Specific senses of heightened interest are taste and smell, particularly in their relationship with ingestive behavior. Mostly, the red mussel in fin fish is about black of total fish muscle. A. 10%, B. 15%, C. 20%, and D. 30%. Do you know the answer? If you answer letter A, 10%, you are correct. Red mussel constitutes the 10% of the fish muscle, depending on the species. They are infused with capillaries, and appears red because of the high concentration of red oxygen-binding pigments in the blood called hemoglobin, as well as in the muscle tissue itself or myoglobin. The red mussels have higher levels of lipids, hemoglobin, glycogen, and most vitamins, and a large proportion of red mussel is found in the continuously active swimming or migrating fish, such as marlins and tunas. Red mussels are used for continuous swimming, and are usually found in the lateral line and in the base of fins. Bony fish contains about blank collagen in their body. The options are A. 3%, B. 6%, C. 9%, and D. 16%. Do you know what the answer is? If you answer A. 3%, you are correct. Collagen is the most abundant structural protein in the extracellular matrix of the various connective tissues in the body. The collagen in the muscles of fish constitutes the main component of the connective tissue membranes joining individual myotomes, and is responsible for the integrity of the fillets. The collagen in cartilaginous fish, such as sharks and rays, can reach as high as 16%. What do you call the process of preserving food in hermetically sealed containers, such as tin cans, jars or bottles, through the application of heat? The choices are A. Drying, B. Canning, C. Salting, and D. Freezing. Do you think you know the answer? If you answer B. Canning, you are correct. Canning is a method of preserving food from spoilage by storing it in containers that are hermetically sealed and then sterilized by heat. It was invented after prolonged research by Nicolas Appert of France in 1809, in response to a call by his government for a NBSP, means NBSP, of preserving food for Army and Navy use. This is a type of microorganism that can withstand high temperature. What is this? A. Thermophiles, B. Psychrophiles, C. Halophiles, and D. Mesophiles. The correct answer is. You are correct, the answer is A. Thermophiles. As discussed earlier, thermophiles are organisms that can withstand higher temperature. They can be found in shallow terrestrial hot springs, hydrothermal vent systems, sediment from volcanic islands, and deep-sea hydrothermal vents. What do you call the process of removing the internal organs of fish? A. Gutting, B. Evisceration, C. Drying, and D. Descumming. Do you know the correct answer? If you answer A. Gutting, you are correct. So what are the definitions of the other choices? Evisceration is the expulsion of internal organs of sea cucumbers, either from the mouth or from the anus. Drying is the exposure of fishery products under the heat of the sun. And descumming is a step in sea cucumber processing, wherein the sea cucumbers are buried in the sand to eliminate the hard spicule substance in the body surface. Which of the following is the chilling temperature? The options are A. 10 degrees Celsius, B. 0 degrees Celsius, C. minus 20 degrees Celsius, and D. minus 65 degrees Celsius. Do you know the answer? If you answer B. 0 degrees Celsius, you are correct. Chilling is the application of temperatures in the range of 0 degrees Celsius to 8 degrees Celsius, or above the freezing point of the food. This is an acid that assists in prolonging the duration of rigor mortis in fish. What is this? Is it A. ascorbic acid, B. citric acid, C. lactic acid, and D. domoic acid? What do you think is the correct answer? If you answer C, lactic acid, you are correct. Lactic acid is a chemical byproduct of anaerobic respiration, the process by which cells produce energy without oxygen around. Rigor mortis results from a series of complicated chemical changes in the muscle of a fish after death. The process is not yet fully understood, and research is still going on, but it is known that factors like the physical condition of the fish at death, and the temperature at which it is kept after death, can markedly affect the time a fish takes to go into, and pass through, rigor. The interaction of the protein components is also influenced by the accumulation of lactic acid, which is produced in the muscle when the energy reserves break down. The first stage of freezing is the blank. What is this? A. removal of heat, B. conversion of water, C. crystallization of water, and D. further cooling of frozen fish. Do you know that the correct answer is? The correct answer is A. removal of heat. It is a common fact that the foods with high moisture content rapidly deteriorate in quality. During freezing, the water in the food is separated out from other food components, and is frozen. Thus, a food is protected, preserved from deteriorating influences such as temperature and water. The lower temperature slows down the rate of chemical reaction, and water is also removed from the sphere of activity. Which of the following statements about salting is false? A. The thicker the flesh, the slower the diffusion. B. The purer the salt, the faster the salt penetration. C. Salt uptake is faster at lower temperature. And D. The fresher the fish, the more slowly salt will be taken up. What do you think is the correct answer? If you answer C, salt uptake is faster at lower temperature, you are correct. Salt uptake is faster at higher temperature than lower temperature. Which of the following terms does not refer to sea cucumbers? A. Bêche de mer, B. Balat or balatin, C. Trepang, and D. Oni. Do you think you know the answer? If you answer D, Oni, you are correct. All the other options are terms referring to the dried products of sea cucumbers. Bêche de mer is a French term. Balat or balatin is Tagalog term. Trepang is the Malaysian term, while uni is a Japanese term for sea urchin roe or gonad. Question number 154. What do you call a point, step or procedure in food processing, at which control can be applied and a food safety hazard can be prevented, eliminated, or reduced to an acceptable level? A. Critical control point. B. Good manufacturing practices. C. Sanitation standard operating practices. Or D. Correction point. Do you think you know the answer? The correct answer is A. Critical control point. Critical control point is part of HACCP. Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points, or HACCP, is an internationally recognized method of identifying and managing food safety-related risk, and when central to an active food safety program, can provide your customers, the public, and regulatory agencies assurance that a food safety program is well managed. HACCP is a management system in which food safety is addressed through the analysis and control of biological, chemical, and physical hazards from raw material production, procurement and handling, to manufacturing, distribution and consumption of the finished product. There are 7 steps in HACCP, which include 1. Performing a hazard analysis. 2. Determining the critical control points. 3. Setting critical limits. 4. Establishing a monitoring system. 5. Establishing corrective actions. 6. Establishing verification procedures. And 7. Establishing record-keeping procedures. A barcode consists of a 13-digit number. The first 2 numbers identifies the country of origin, the next 5 identifies manufacturer, and the last 5 identifies the product. What do you call the last digit? The options are A. Check digit, B. Quiet zone, C. Item number, and D. Logistic validator. What do you think is the correct answer? The correct answer is A. Check digit. A barcode is the small image of lines or bars and spaces that is affixed to retail store items, identification cards, and postal mail to identify a particular product number, person, or location. The code uses a sequence of vertical bars and spaces to represent numbers and other symbols. A barcode symbol typically consists of 5 parts: a quiet zone, a number system digit, or the country of origin, the manufacturer ID code, the product code, and a check digit. Fish oils contains large amount of the following, except A. Polyunsaturated fatty acid, B. Monounsaturated fatty acid, C. Highly unsaturated fatty acid, and D. Saturated fatty acid. Do you know the correct answer? If you answers D, saturated fatty acid, you are correct. There are 2 types of fatty acids. The first are the saturated fatty acids, which are solid in room temperature. The second are the unsaturated fatty acids, which are liquid in room temperature. Unsaturated fatty acids are called so because of the presence of carbon double bonds. Monounsaturated fatty acids have 1 carbon double bond. Polyunsaturated fatty acids have 2 or more carbon double bonds. Highly unsaturated fatty acids have 20 to 22 carbon molecules. Unsaturated fatty acids are less stable than saturated fatty acids. This makes them more vulnerable to rancidity. Rancidity is the oxidation of fats that is caused by hydration, oxidation, metallic atoms or microbes. Which of the following is not an antioxidant? A. Butylated hydroxytoluene or BHT, B. Butylated hydroxyanisole or BHA, C. Sodium chloride, and D. Propyl gallate. The correct answer is C. Sodium chloride. Butylated hydroxytoluene or BHT, butylated hydroxyanisole or BHA, and propyl gallate are antioxidants. What is the term used for consumable duration of a product? A. Consumable period, B. Edible time, C. Shelving, and D. Shelf life. The correct answer is D. Shelf life. Shelf life is defined as the length of time a product may be stored without becoming unsuitable for use or consumption. Shelf life depends on the degradation mechanism of the specific product. Most can be influenced by several factors: exposure to light, heat, and moisture, transmission of gases, mechanical stresses, and contamination by things such as microorganisms. Commonly known as the white sandfish or curtido, this species is the most commonly processed sea cucumber species in Southeast Asia. What is this? The options are: A. Holothurius scabra, B. Stichopus hermanni, C. the Lenata ananas, and D. Bohadskia argus. What do you think is the correct answer? If you answer A. Holothurius scabra, you are correct. Stichopus hermanni is the scientific name for Hermann sea cucumber, locally known as hanganim. The Lenata ananas is the scientific name for pineapple sea cucumber, or prickly sea cucumber, locally known as piña piña or talopan. And Bohadskia argus is the scientific name for leopard sea cucumber, locally known as matangkusa. Who pioneered canning in the Philippines? A. Herminio Rabanal, B. Maria Arosa, C. Domiciano Villaluz, and D. Agustina Mali. What do you think is the correct answer? If you answer B. Maria Arosa, you are correct. Maria Arosa is a Filipina food technologist, pharmaceutical chemist, humanitarian and war heroine. She invented over 700 recipes during her lifetime, including soylac and darac, which saved thousands of lives during the war. She introduced to the public the well-known banana ketchup, and took advantage of the abundant natural resources of the Philippine Islands, such as native fruits, crops and vegetables, to make the Philippines self-sufficient. Maria Arosa also invented a process for canning goods for the guerrilla warriors, fighting for the liberation of the Philippines. And now, it's time to our last episode's fun question. What do you call the interaction between two different organisms living in close physical association? The correct answer is: it's symbiosis. That's all for today's episode. I hope that you learned something from us. We suggest that you read anything that is related to fisheries matters, be it from the books, articles, or even from the news. Keep safe always, everyone.